So I used to go to the store or go to my brother's room and I would get the rap tapes and I would read the lyrics because back then all the tapes came with the lyrics and that's how I sort of found poetry. And from there I started to write. And for me, it came at the perfect time because I was what 10 years old maybe. And shortly after that, my whole life kind of fell apart, right? So all the things that had, the traumas in my life began around that time, right? And I started to experience all sorts of things that knocked me to the right, knocked me to the left, and put me in certain jams. And poetry was the one thing that I could use to sort of navigate those spaces and to get myself free in whatever situation that I was in, at least emotionally, at least mentally, right? Even if I couldn't physically always be in safer spaces, I could use poetry to transport me mentally and emotionally to somewhere that felt a little safer. It was always there. It never let me down, and it required nothing of me. And that is the reason why I loved it more than anything else. I think about writing um, as the strangest thing, right? Because technically, all we're really working with, at least in English, is 26 letters. We get 26 letters. That's all we have, right? We get 26 letters, and somehow we rearrange and rearrange 26 letters into a series of sequences that can change the heart of a person. That is a wild thing to think about. That's it, right? It's just 26 letters arranged in strange coded sequences with an infinite amount of possibility, right? So those sequences can be arranged with infinite possibility. We're never going to run out of the way those sequences go, right? And and that arrangement, for some reason, just letters and shapes connected to one another, right? And spaces, that arrangement could make you feel like a giant or could tear the world apart. What a powerful, powerful gift. And that's the thing that keeps me doing this every day. Language is the cornerstone of culture, right? Like if you ask any anthropologist in the world, they'll tell you all cultures begin with language, right? That's how they can really stamp down what a culture is thinking about that culture's language. So if language is the cornerstone of culture, the more we continue to push language, change language, stretch it, evolve it, then the more our culture continues to push, stretch, and evolve as well. But if we minimize the language and if we take the language for granted, it is impossible for us to then not minimize the cultures that language is attached to. It's a powerful thing to think about. One has to quiet the mind in order to get any writing done, right? Which means that one has to deal with the mind. One has to deal with what's happening in there, right? And that's the part that can be a bit frightening and can be a bit hard because in order for me to get the ideas in my mind out of my mind, I have to wrestle with what those ideas are. So I have to get to know myself in ways that sometimes can be really complicated because I know me, right? Which means I know all the things about me that don't nobody else know that are ugly, right? I'm a human, I'm a person, right? There are things about me that I think are pretty good, and there are some things about me that aren't so good. And all those things live up here. And when it comes time to write, I can't escape them. I can't ignore them, right? I have to sit with them. I have to live with them. I have to listen to it all and figure out how to deal with them so that I can then write down the things I need to write down. It's a true gift. Yes, you're talented writers, right? Yes, you have this wonderful ability to articulate and express yourselves and to emote and to do all these special things. But there's a whole other set of skills that are being strengthened, right? Like listening, because to be a good writer, one has to listen, even if it means listening to yourself, right? One has to be consistent, persistent, diligent, patient, concentrate. One has to concentrate, right? These are all the things that are happening every time we sit at the page. It's not just art. It's not just creativity. It's also teaching us how to be whole people. And that is something I'm always going to be grateful for. The feeling of failure is a terrible feeling, but a necessary one. Something that we all got to kiss every now and then. We all got to touch that feeling every now and then. But it shouldn't be the thing that we should dwell upon. What should be dwelled upon is the mere notion that we had enough courage to want something more for ourselves in the first place, right? Now, whether it happens or not, look, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But what an amazing life to live if it is an inspired life. And it ain't just about the writers. What if it's about everybody? What if all of us had this burning thing that we think if nobody else recognizes the flame, that means that the flame ain't hot enough or the flame ain't there. No, they just can't see the flame, but you know the flame is there. And shouldn't that be enough? I meet writers all the time and they tell me all the things they hate in life. And that'll be a short-lived career. The writer has to live a curious life, a curious life. You have to want to know all there is to know for no other reason than the fact that it's there for you to know. And if you can do that, the more arrows you can tuck into your quiver, right? The more likelihood you have of actually hitting the bullseye. So you want to be a good writer? Live boldly and wildly, right? Live irreverently, live, and I promise you, you'll write forever.